Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you very much to the Early Career Development Grant Sessions. And today is session 1, which is Introduction to Finding Opportunity and Opportunity Resources. So today's session will be led by Christina Lee Doctor from the Office of, and her team from the Office of Research, and also Melissa Welshans from the Center for Fellowship and Scholarship Advising. So I just want to remind everyone that we are going to have our second session 2 weeks later, which is on the August 26th. And it will happen at the same time, 1:30 p.m. as well. So don't forget that. So first, my name is Huan Gu, and I'm a faculty facilitator of postdoctoral activities for the Women in Science and Engineering program, which is also called WISE. Today, I'm going to facilitate today's webinar with Amanda Latrell, who is the program support coordinator of WISE. And also, I'm going to facilitate today's webinar with Carla Forade from, who is the postdoc at the Department of Biology. So first I want to thank Amanda and Carla for their support during pulling together today's webinar and also the 2 sessions. Without their help, we cannot have our today's webinar. So thank you very much, Amanda and Carla. So first I want to, before we start today, I want to make a few announcements. The first is that we're going to record today's session. So as you can see on the top left corner, we are recording today's session because some of the members cannot attend today's session. And just in case that if you miss anything, don't worry. We will send the record of today's webinar later after the live session ends. That's the first announcement. And also, if you don't want your face or name show up during the record, now is the perfect time for you to turn off your camera or change your name. So that's our first announcement. The second announcement is that because we have such a great attendance today, so we will start muting everyone. And if you have any question, please feel free to ask. You can use either the function of raise hand, so you can ask in person, or you can post the questions in the chat box. So Amanda, me, or Carla, who see the questions in the chat box, we will ask the questions for you during the webinar. And the third announcement is that we're going to send out the evaluation form after today's webinar. So it will help us to improve our sessions or activities in the future and better serve your purpose. And also, if you have any questions that will not be addressed today at the webinar, please include those questions in the evaluation form as well. So we will try our best to answer those questions during our second session. So the last announcement is that one of the purposes of the sessions is to form some smaller writing groups. So based on the information that you put in the registration form, we're going to initiate some smaller writing group. During this pandemic, I think smaller writing group will help us a lot. So just watch out for the emails from me later after the sessions, and I will try to initiate some smaller writing group for you as well. So that's all the announcements. So if you have any question, please feel free to ask. And before we start, I want to acknowledge, I want to make a few acknowledgements as well. So first, I want to thank Christina and Melissa and the support from Office of Research and also the Center for Fellowship and Scholarship Advising.
And the libraries.
And the libraries, of course, sorry, for your support for WISE activities. And also, I want to acknowledge Sharon Alastello, who is the program director of WISE. And also, I want to thank Samantha Inkland, who is also a faculty facilitator of postdoctoral activities. So thank them for their help and the support. Without it, we cannot pull together the webinars. So I will say that, so now I'm going to hand over the presentation to the panelists today. So I think Melissa Welshan from the Center for Fellowship and the Scholarship Advising is going to start today's presentation. And later, Christina and her team is going to jump in, and she will introduce the member when the member, when she starts presenting. So now I will hand it over to Melissa. Thank you.
All right, thank you. I am excited to be here and working with all of you. My background is I actually don't have a degree in STEM. Mine's in English literature, and so, which isn't great for science, but it's great for what I do, which is helping students edit and revise and write personal statements, statements of grant purpose, and other pieces of applications. So that's what I'm going to talk with you about today, is kind of what our office does, who we're staffed. We're the Center for Fellowship and Scholarship Advising here at Syracuse University. The picture I have included there, last year, we had t-shirts made called CFSA's World Tour 2019, and we listed all of the, not all of them, but some of the different countries that students were able to go to with a lot of various fellowships and scholarships. And these two particular students, Summer Alani is on the right and Tajane Harris is on the left. Summer at the time was an SU undergraduate alum. Taj was finishing up her senior year. They both were successful grant recipients for Fulbrights. Summer was offered a grant to Turkey as an English teaching assistantship, and Taj, in the end, she just got word that she was moved from alternate status for a research grant to Germany up to a grantee. So very exciting, and I'll talk a little bit about Fulbright later. But yeah, so if we want to move to the next slide, Christina, what our office does is we help SU undergrads, graduate students, and alumni identify prestigious national scholarships and fellowships to support their academic and professional goals. Primarily, we work with alumni who are before the status of having a PhD. And so while you're still a graduate student, doctoral students, we do help you. Once you are beyond that, the research is too advanced usually, and the skills needed are more specific than what we offer. So we really focus on opportunities to support undergraduates, graduate students, and alums, especially early on in their careers. And we help applicants draft, revise, and edit application essays, and as I sort of mentioned earlier, especially personal statements. A lot of the applications that we help students apply for are scholarships and fellowships that are really funding the person, and not necessarily the research that they're doing. And so helping individuals craft a compelling personal narrative that is in line with the scholarship foundation that they're applying for and with the intent of the award is really our bread and butter. That's what we're here to help students do. But we also help students conduct mock interviews. If a student applies for an award that requires an interview, many of them do. And I don't mention this in the list, but it'll kind of come up later, especially for undergraduates. There are a lot of opportunities, scholarships and fellowships where institutional endorsement is required, where an institution can only nominate a select number of students for a particular opportunity, and our office facilitates the process for a lot of those, and especially a lot of opportunities for STEM undergraduates. Next slide. Thank you. So how to approach your fellowship search. So this is just from our end of things. I think this wonderful, robust presentation is going to offer a lot of tips and ideas about how to approach a search for fellowships and scholarships. But when it comes to our end of things, I really do want to emphasize this idea of the person, not the project. You might, as you move through your academic career here at SU, be kind of thinking about like, which offices should I go for different opportunities and support. And I think ours is a really great place, especially if you are completing an application that has a personal component, one where they're really looking to support you as an individual. And so in addition to when you're exploring, different fellowship search options and thinking about, how in these various tools that we have, am I going to try to look for and identify different things I can apply for, I would really encourage you to think about searching for opportunities with a few different things in mind beyond just your own field of research. And one of the things our office does, we're advisors because we really do conduct a lot of intro meetings with students. We sit down with them. Maybe you don't even know what you want to apply for yet. You have one idea in mind, but are looking for others. And we kind of talk through, you know, what are your future goals? What makes you unique? And what do you need? And so the first point I have here is, what do you need? Are you looking for something like language training to conduct your research, research support, so either funds to travel to a particular archive or a particular lab? Are you looking for tuition support? For graduate students, that's not as important, although obviously I think undergrads and master's students come up with that more than PhDs. Or are you looking for something to help you fund your dissertation completion? Are you towards the end of your degree and really need support in doing that? But also, where are you in your career? So looking for different opportunities at different stages. Are you an undergraduate who is seeking experiences for your undergrad years, or are you looking for things to help you once you graduate? Those are different research approaches that happen at different stages. And, you know, in your first or second year, it's probably it's probably a better idea to look for things that can help you while you're an undergraduate rather than kind of looking ahead, although looking ahead is a good thing as well. And then for graduate students, again, I think a lot of opportunities are sort of either geared towards individuals who are in their early stages, so still completing coursework, still maybe trying to gain some skills, attend different certifications, et cetera, do research elsewhere, early stage collaborations. Next is the research phase, you know, so things you need to conduct the research that you're working on. And then finally, the dissertation writing phase, you know, are again, those dissertation completion grants. And then finally, do you bring something unique to your application? And so when I say unique, I kind of avoid that word as much as I can usually, especially in writing, because we're all unique. We all have unique things to say and bring. But truly, a lot of the opportunities that we work on are geared to looking for students who bring a particular aspect to the field in which they're trying to enter. And so are they someone who is from an underrepresented group, whether that be, you know, age, race, gender, nationality, ability, veteran status in their chosen field, and whether or not you are underrepresented for a particular reason can vary depending on the field that you're entering. And also, I wanted to mention too, a desire to work for the federal government or foreign service. There's a lot of opportunities that we help students with that offer significant financial support to individuals who have a desire to work for the federal government in the future. And we really want to make sure that students are aware of those if that happens to be part of their career trajectory. But again, I kind of put on the right there, funding the person, not the project. And I think that's really underscores what our office is good for. Next slide, please. So common fellowships for STEM students, and I'm not going to go and click to the website, but feel free on your own computers to do so. CFSA.flywheelsites.com is where we actually host a directory of scholarship and fellowship opportunities that our office has helped students with in the past. We're actually in the process right now of redeveloping it to making it a little bit more user-friendly. Hopefully it'll be in that format. We were hoping before the beginning of this semester, who knows, but in the next few weeks, ideally. But it is still functional right now, as you can see. And so you'll go there and it basically is a long list alphabetically that you can search of different opportunities. And I wanted to just highlight a few of them for the audience to kind of get a sense of what it is that our office has helped students with in the past. This is clearly not an exhaustive list, and neither is our directory. And we do try to offer students information about other places where they can go and access information at their scholarship search, especially I think for graduate students who are in their advanced stages of their degree. You do have to do a lot of that work on your own, which is why I'm so excited, even myself, to learn more about the different ways that you can kind of hunt down the right opportunities for what you're looking to do. But this is just a few that we've helped students with in the past. So for undergraduate students, we support them with the National Science Foundation's Research Experiences for Undergraduates program. That's a really wonderful opportunity. Maybe some of you who are graduate students have participated in those when you yourselves were undergrads. And we really highlight and like to see undergraduates early on applying for these opportunities. You get to go and work in a research lab over the summer, funded from other places. in the US at different labs. We do have an NSF site, a couple of them maybe here at SU. I know there's one in chemistry, an NSF RU opportunity, but it really is a great funded way to get research experience over the summer as an undergraduate. And we're happy to help students with that application, which can be a little bit intense, and those are usually due around December and January. The Barry Goldwater Scholarship provides extensive funding and research support to undergraduate students who are, I believe, juniors. And it is a program that really honors very research intensive undergraduates, those who have a lot of research experience. And it's one that our office facilitates a nomination process. So we can only, at Syracuse University, can only nominate a certain number of students forward. And once they do that, or once students submit an internal application to us, it's reviewed by a panel here at Syracuse. We select the final nominees, and then they're forwarded to the national committee. And again, that's for STEM students. Astronaut Scholarship is a really neat opportunity. It provides tuition support for sophomores and juniors who are working in select STEM fields. In times prior to COVID, if you were selected as one student who is able to get this from Syracuse University, you get to attend a gala with astronauts, which is very fun. I get to shake hands with them. You also get to present your research to them. It takes place in DC. I think they're planning something, virtually akin to that this year. Hopefully in future years, it'll be again in person. But that's another one for which Syracuse can only submit a certain number of students. And so Laurel White this year was both a Goldwater recipient and an astronaut scholar undergrad. Yay, Laurel. And the Udall Scholarship is another one that I wanted to highlight. That's a really neat opportunity for individuals who are studying sustainability related scientific projects. And so, and that one also provides tuition support and allows students to become involved in a community of other scientists like themselves who are interested, and also people who are interested in public policy. And includes a summer retreat component, which they're currently now running virtually. So as it sort of probably becomes clear, at least in the ones I've highlighted, a lot of the opportunities are really focused on individuals who have done extensive research, supporting them in their research, supporting them as undergraduates to help them, ideally become graduate students and future leaders in their field, and sometimes do require a nomination process from our office, which we help students through and hopefully help them in the end be successful candidates at the national level. For graduate students, I think some of these might be pretty familiar to all. The NSF GRFP, Graduate Research Fellowship Program. We are currently in the stages of planning a NSF GRFP boot camp this year. So if you're not familiar with it, it is an opportunity that provides 3 years of, I believe it's $34,000 a year per student and $12,000 a year to the institution that the student is conducting research at. It's for students who are in master's and PhD programs. We have just recorded a podcast with the Graduate School's Career Services on the GRFP that should be released this week. I'm excited, and I'm going to share that with Amanda to make sure that all of y'all, if you're not subscribed to it, can listen to that. And then we're also following up with a podcast where we interviewed Mary Beth Monroe in bioengineering, and Jane Pascar and Katie Piston will be interviewing as well, and that should be released in a couple of weeks. So that's our kind of interview overview. We're doing podcast form, and so hopefully you'll have access to that. And then I'm going to run a virtual boot camp our office where we're hoping towards the middle of or end of September to do a virtual series of exercises to get you started in your writing. That application does contain a pretty significant personal story component in addition to a discussion of your research. And so we really encourage students who are applying to the NSF GRFP to reach out to our office in addition to your mentors to support you in writing that. And we will be emailing and trying to get the word out about those opportunities for the boot camp. But if something happens and you don't end up seeing that come across your radar by early September, just send me an email, and I'm actually chatting my personal email here. You can reach me there, and earlier also CFSA@syr.edu as our general. But we want to make sure we can help you, especially with that one. So I'm excited about our new process. The Ford predoctoral and dissertation fellowships are a really wonderful opportunity for either early career graduate students or dissertation writing graduate students who are from underrepresented communities who plan to be tenure track faculty. And it's open to individuals who are in STEM and the humanities. But really a key component is your research needs to be either focused on supporting underrepresented groups, especially in their representation in higher education, or you yourself are an individual who is from an underrepresented group. And so if you are, it's a really wonderful fellowship. The predoctoral provides funding support for the first couple of years, in addition to mentorship while you're in those early stages. And then the dissertation fellowship is a dissertation completion grant. And then finally, the AAUW fellowships. This is the perfect audience to underscore these. It's the American Association of University Women, and they offer a variety of fellowships for graduate students at different levels who identify as women. And they're also one of the opportunities that we work with that has a really wonderful opportunity for international students, where if you are an international graduate student who plans on pursuing a career in academia here in the United States, they have a dissertation completion fellowship for you, in addition to one that is for individuals with US citizenship who are going on to finish their PhD. So that's sort of a rundown of the specifics. I see a question here. Are all these opportunities also open to international students? And I'm glad you asked. Unfortunately, not all of them, and most of them are not. We primarily, especially since a lot of the opportunities that we help students with are funded by the US government, for undergraduates in particular, a lot of them are not open to international students. But we try to be pretty clear about which ones are and are not on our directory. And we also do have a handout that is that I'm happy to send anyone who wants to email me directly, that is opportunities only for international students. And so that way you don't have to spend the time to sift through what is and what is not available. And so again, it's one of those things where you might have to do as an international student a little bit more work on your own, just because our own portfolio of opportunities is a little bit smaller. But once you find an opportunity that is great for you, if it's not on our directory, and this goes for international and domestic students, we're happy to hear about it, assess whether or not we can be supportive of you, and do the best we can. And then lastly, some opportunities that are open to both undergraduates and graduate students. And I believe, unfortunately, all of these are for domestic students as well. The Fulbright US Student Program, which I highlighted at the beginning with our picture of Taj and Summer, is a program that offers research support to about 140 countries for about 9 months. So about one academic year. They provide a stipend and really can either allow you to design your own research program once you become affiliated and associated with academic department abroad, or you can also attend graduate school. So maybe you're a master's student right now, are considering possibly getting another master's degree in a different or related field. You might be able to do that through Fulbright, through one of their partnership grants. And we're currently in the process of our Fulbright promotion right now. We're working with students actively to revise and write their statements of grant purpose and personal statements. It's a pretty essay heavy application. And so if you are interested at all, definitely reach out to me as soon as you can. Oh, I'm just looking at the chat. Yes, there's a lot more to come. And I see a great question. When and how long will the boot camp be for NSF GRP, since I think some of the deadlines for that fellowship are around early October. So we're hoping that the boot camp will be around the last 2 weeks of September, and will be tailored in such a way that if one wanted to start their essays earlier, you absolutely, I think, would still benefit from the boot camp. It could be a great way to work on revising. The earliest deadline for the first NSF GRP is October 19th. And so that does still give you a couple of weeks to work and revise, but I absolutely think students should feel free to start earlier and reach out to us, reach out to your mentors ahead of time. Last year, we did our first info session the 20th of September, I believe. And so we are moving our process earlier in terms of hopefully students will now have their writing in a really solid place by the end of September. But again, depending on your own comfort level with writing, your own access, your own semester of coursework, you know, if you're really looking at a pretty heavy fall semester, feel free to reach out. And we're happy to start working with you as early as you're ready to go. You're welcome. And so CLS stands for the Critical Language Scholarship. That's an opportunity. It's an 8-week summer intensive scholarship for individuals who are looking to learn or deepen their understanding of a language that is less often taught in the United States. It is run by the State Department, and so they are looking for individuals who, you know, may possibly have an interest in working for the federal government in the future, but it's not a requirement. And it's a really great way for graduate students who have some sort of language component in their research, or who also are in a field where it would be really beneficial to be able to, you know, converse in a pretty successful way with individuals from different countries to gain significant language grounds. And the Boren Awards is specifically for individuals who want to work for the federal government, but that also provides up to a year of financial support to learn a language abroad and conduct research abroad. And it's a really great opportunity for graduate students who have specifically an interest in or are doing research in an area relevant to national security. It does require, unlike the other opportunities I've mentioned, it does require that one serves as a federal employee for a year after they have graduated. If you want to work for the federal government, it's an absolutely wonderful opportunity to start that career trajectory. And the Department of Defense SMART Scholarship, that's another one where if you are interested in working for the federal government, you can apply and they will cover, I think, most of your tuition, if not all. It's very, very extensive financial support. You can apply as long as you have a year and a half left of your schooling to go, whether you be an undergraduate or a graduate student. So you can apply as early as a freshman undergraduate, and as long as you have a year and a half left of fundable tuition years, you can apply as a graduate student. And so I do, so the Boren Awards is definitely only open to US citizens. The SMART Scholarship, I believe that is also the case. I would have to double check, and sometimes those things are shifting as well. But if you go to our CFSA Flywheel sites, the link above, you'll be able to find that information out, hopefully pretty quickly. And I think, do I have one more slide? I feel like please cut me off if I was like, oh, what am I going to talk about? But I feel like I've gone quite a bit. So I think this is my last slide. And one thing I also it's really important to understand about our office is we primarily help students apply for opportunities like the ones I listed above that have about a year lag time between when you apply and when you receive the funding. And so it's really important to start looking early for funding opportunities and to reach out to us early to make sure that you have the funding in hand when you eventually need it. And so I've just sort of put, and this made me feel a little bit like a scientist. I'm like, imagine it as a butterfly moving through, you know, the life cycle of our fellowships. It's, you know, the application's open. Many of the ones we work with typically in the late summer, early fall. Most deadlines fall between October and January of the academic year. Then on the fellowship's end and their own foundation review begins. And some of them have semi-finalist stages before the finalist stage. Some of them have interviews, which I mentioned we do help students prepare for interviews. Review concludes in March and May. And then often recipients are notified by the end of the academic year or early summer if they will have funding for the fall. And so truly, I think you really need to be thinking a year in advance, which is hard. And I think especially now when we all don't know what we'll be doing sometimes for, you know, even greater reasons than just the academic precarity of the undergrad and grad student life. But as much as you can, think ahead and be looking for what you need next year. And that's the best way to kind of work with our office and have us help you prepare for things that you will need. And I think that's all I've got. And I know it was a lot, but I know you'll be given this PowerPoint after the presentation to kind of sift through again. And please feel free to reach out. I'm very accessible and happy to answer questions.
Thank you, Melissa. So just like couple of notes. So first, we're recording this webinar. So if you don't want your face to show up in the record, so just you can turn the camera off. And also, Melissa is going to attend the second session as well. And the second session will have more details about how you can plan your application and how to prepare the documents, the detailed information. So if you want to know more, please join our second session. And also, Melissa has mentioned a lot about start early. So our goal for today's, for those 2 sessions is also try to help you to form a smaller writing group so we can have a peer to work together. So look out for the information that I will send out later about organizing different smaller writing group for different applications as well. So now I think, Christina, can you take it over?
Sure, I'll just give a little bit more formal introduction to a big chunk of the team, which is actually the libraries. And so they're not part of the Office of Research. They're a giant service to the entire campus community. And so we are very, very lucky in the Office of Research to work closely with quite a few of the folks from the library team. And 2 of the main people that I often tag team in with these kind of presentations are right here, and that's Emily and Brenna. And it sounds like, Brenna, you were going to go first, but I'll let you guys tell a little bit about yourself, and I'm going to stop sharing if you want to take the wheel.
Sure.
It's Christina.
Okay, so my name is Brenna Helmstetler, and I am the librarian for the iSchool. It's also known as the School of Information Studies. So it's pretty similar to a lot of the programs that all of you are in terms of science and computer science engineering. Let me see if I can get to my slides here, presentation, and I will share that. Okay, and so the first slide I wanted to talk about, just to give you some context for the different ways that SU libraries can help you, not only in your regular research that you may be doing, but certainly as you are developing research in terms of grants. And I totally agree with what Melissa was talking about in terms of starting early. And I would suggest in terms of your grant, and as I go through these things, you may want to look into these particular activities either before or at the start of the research phase of your grant, just to ensure that you have all of the tools that you need and all of the guidance that you need. And certainly the subject librarians will be a great resource for you. And I'll just go through a couple of these, and know that Emily and I will be at the next session. And so in some of these, in terms of what we're talking about, we will go into more detail with how these inform application materials, and just providing more details about how they will work in terms of the application. But just to give you just a background of what subject librarians can help you with as you are preparing for the grant process, or sort of entering into that phase, is that we can help you develop search strategies for literature reviews, because that is certainly part of the grant application. We can also give you guidance in identifying specialized resources on your topic. And then also, if need be, we accept title requests if you find a book or other kind of material that would be really useful for your research. We can certainly consider that for purchase to be added to the library's collection in your program area. We can also help you in discovering research reputation tools, which can be used in the grant application process. This is one of the activities that we'll go into more detail with in the second session. But just to give you just a brief summary of what this entails, research reputation tools could be used in a variety of ways. Certainly with grant applications, it's often used with tenure and promotion, and many other tools. But basically, research reputation refers to the impact that a particular researcher has within their field, within their discipline. And so that tools can sort of be in the form of metrics, which can be indicators of that impact or attention that that research has been given. And so in turn, that creates sort of an author profile of sorts, and there's different ways to set up author profiles that will sort of contain various kinds of metrics depending on the tool you're using. But that can be one way to kind of justify or discuss your impact within your grant application, because that is often required or often encouraged to include. So we can certainly help you in sort of identifying the best tools for you and your situation. And then just generally, subject librarians are available, especially this semester. A lot of us are working virtually, so we're certainly reachable via email, and then we can also set up meetings with you virtually. So you can just send an email to your subject librarian and let them know that you're interested in discussing a particular item, maybe within your grant proposal, or finding research or strategies, search strategies, resources, etc. And we can meet with you through Zoom or another platform, and sort of meet with you that way. And then just some other services that we have that can be very helpful during the grant process, or at the beginning of the grant process when you're collecting the research. We do have an interlibrary loan service where you can request books that we can obtain from other libraries. This is limited right now due to the pandemic, but by the throughout the semester, this will probably, availability will increase, but it's always, you're certainly welcome to submit that request, and then you'll be notified if there's any issues there. But certainly with journal articles, those can be requested if you don't see that we have access to what you're looking for. You can request those, and because those are electronic, you can typically receive those pretty quickly. And then also we have a research data services within our library, and this is a significant part of the grant process, which includes can include data management plans, various tools that you can use for data collection and analysis. And so the particular ones that we'll be going into more detail with in the next session would be research reputation tools and research data services. So we'll talk in more detail about how to kind of manage and navigate these activities as you go through the grant application process. And the last link I wanted to share is an up-to-date sort of information about our resources and services for the fall. And because reopening of the campus is occurring very shortly, this will be updated more and more frequently, and it does talk about when the libraries will reopen, and then the different sort of ways that we will be set up for social distancing and other important things to keep in mind. But this will give you also a list of services that are available in terms of services such as interlibrary loan and other services, just so you know exactly what's going on in terms of the library's reopening and how that impacts services and resources. And I will show you a short demo of experts at the end of this slide, but I wanted to first talk about what Experts at Syracuse says, in case you're not already familiar with it. Because this is a tool that, even though it's primarily based on faculty profiles, it's something that can be used by anyone, and certainly graduate students and postdocs. It can be really powerful. So Experts at Syracuse is known as a research information management tool, and the data is built from the research active faculty at SU who have profiles and experts that will contain a lot of various content, such as their research interest, their research output, including research articles. It also includes conference proceedings, but it also includes a list of grants that they are in the process of conducting, or it will also show previous grants. So that for you, that can be beneficial in seeing if you wanted to see, you know, who within your program of the faculty have received grants, maybe you're currently working with a particular grant. And then you can also use the expert site to identify potential collaborators within the faculty by research interest. And then there's also a recent addition to the site, which is really great, that has, it links to research on COVID-19. So it's pretty up to date with the current research topics that are going on, and that there's already a lot of output regarding COVID-19. So what I will do now is close my screen and switch over to the expert site briefly, and then I'll go through the chat and answer any questions that we have. Okay, so this is the page at experts.syr.edu. And here you can do a search by keyword. You could search for a faculty member. You could search by department. It's pretty open to what you may want to search for. This is the banner I was talking about that we've recently added that includes COVID-19 research within SU. So if you click this link, that will show the research output. And we also have quite a few press and media mentions. So if you are interested in COVID-19 research, that can be one way to see the latest on that from SU. So that may be of interest to you. And so I wanted to show you how you could do a potential search to see the different grants in your department. So I'm just going to pick just a department that may match some of your degree programs, but know that you can certainly select any program that you would like what is available. So I put in electrical engineering and computer science, and I enclose those in quotes just to ensure that the search would contain all of the words. So one way to do that is by the research output here. And this, I believe, is going back to the COVID-19. Let me go back further, I'm sorry. This is what I was trying to do. I did environmental engineering as a search, and as you can already see, there are some various departments that appear, not just environmental engineering, which would suggest that this is a multidisciplinary area. So you can certainly, there's several ways you can search here. You could go directly to the grants and see all of the grants that are in process. So that may be of interest. You can see the title of the grant, the first author, and then the funding provider, as well as the time period. So that may be of interest. You could also do the search going back a page if you just wanted to look at individual profiles. You can do that. So there's a lot of different ways you can search in here. So you could easily spend a lot of time just looking through departments, looking at faculty. So for this particular person, you'll see, for example, a profile here of citations. You see a fingerprint, which refers to the research topics that that faculty person has researched. You see their network of collaborators. And then you also see a list of grants and projects, as well as research output. So you can see that the departments have kind of their own page, but then you can also go into individual profiles. Okay, so I think I've probably spent all of the time I need to there, and let me check the chat for any questions that I can answer. Okay, that's to access experts at Syracuse, you just go to experts.syr.edu. You don't need a password to access that, and Amanda put that in the site for you, or in the chat for you. Thank you. And okay, great. So as I said, I'll be at the next session, and I'll go into more detail with what I've talked about in terms of the application process. Okay, so I will switch it to you.
Hi, everybody. I think I'm up next. I'm Emily Hart. I'm the science librarian and the research impact at Syracuse University Libraries. And basically what sciences means is everything that is a science in the College of Arts and Sciences pretty much. So biology, chemistry, physics, math, communication sciences and disorders, forensic science. I probably missed a couple, but psychology. So anyway, I think that it covers a lot of STEM. And I was formerly the engineering and computer science librarian as well. So I probably know quite a few of you. Anyway, as Brenna said, we are starting to work more on things like the proposal development process and support grant searching, things like that. But we also wear a lot of different hats. So please, after this session, don't hesitate to reach out to us if you have questions about your research. So what I'm going to talk about today, I'm going to share my screen quickly. Well, apparently I have too many things open on my screen.
That must be a librarian's dilemma constantly.
It is.
There are a lot of different directions we're going in. Can everyone see? Is it in the actual share mode? Okay, awesome. No? Yes? Okay. All right. So, whoops. Sorry, I guess it started at the beginning. Turn away so you don't get dizzy. Okay, here we go. So why would you use, so to contextualize this a little bit more. So one of the things that we do really well is research. So we're librarians search things, right? You come to us, you need to find something. So we use literature databases a lot like Scopus, Web of Science, and over the years, they've gotten a lot better at doing things like incorporating information about authors and metrics and citation details. And that includes grant funding information as well. So if you do something like you work on research and then you submit to a journal or conference and that gets published, you're also going to submit your grant information. So how did this research get funded? As I said, databases are getting much better at indexing all that information. So I like to recommend using the literature databases because they're also something that you're probably already familiar with. You're in there, you're doing literature searches, things like that. So want to make sure you know how to tap into that grant information that's there as well. So I think I touched on a lot of these points, but it's one of the things that's interesting about searching the literature databases as well is that you might get things like, you're going to get NSF, you're going to get NIH and some of those big funders, but you also see some interesting organizations in there that you may not come across in other places. So it gives you a broader scope of who's funding your area of research. You can also use it for things like finding collaborators. So if you do a search in Scopus or Web of Science, and you, you know, you get back a list of all the people that are publishing in that area. So you may want to tap into, you know, the authors, like look at the authors and see what grants they're getting, and then you can, you know, maybe reach out to them from there. So the other thing that the databases, both databases include is the grant funding details. So you can go in and click on a specific article and again, see where, see what specific grant number it has, and then you can backtrack from there. Okay, so another thing that, basically this is called reverse searching. So we're not searching for the actual opportunities themselves using the literature databases. We are looking at things that already have been awarded. Okay, so you're kind of backtracking, but that's giving you an idea where to go in the future. So as I mentioned before, Scopus and Web of Science are the two major literature indexing databases, and they're also really great for STEM. And we are very fortunate at SU to have access to those databases. SU Libraries pays for a subscription, so the university has access to these resources. So one of the things that you want to note is that if you haven't used them from off campus, when you click on those databases from the library website, you will be prompted for your net ID and password. But you can access these resources from anywhere with an internet connection. So I'm gonna, the notes at the bottom are mostly for if you decide to go into Scopus or Web of Science after today, so you remember how to go in and what to look for. I'm gonna stop sharing my screen quickly, and then I'm gonna pop back into Scopus. Actually, I still have experts pulled up. Okay, I'm actually going to start on the library's website. Can everyone see the website? Yes? Okay, great. All right, so on the library's website, I'm going to show you how to get to Scopus and Web of Science. So we're going to click on databases. And actually, if you want to follow along with me, that would be wonderful. In a minute, I'm going to have an activity, a really quick activity where you can go in and try a search in Scopus. So if everyone wants to navigate to the library's website right now it's library.syr.edu. Then when you get there, you're going to click on databases. And S for Scopus. My internet is slow at my house, so you may already be there. Uh-oh. Okay. This isn't fun. I think it may be because I potentially already have a session started for Scopus. Close this. Try and go into Scopus again. Okay, I don't know why it worked this time, not the other time. Can everyone see my screen now? Okay, so what I want you to do, and I skipped over one of my slides and jumped out to Scopus, but I'd like you to take a moment and think about a topic that you want to search for. So as Melissa mentioned before, her office deals with awards that are personal, so for the person. Scopus is looking at primarily research awards. So these are, funders that are funding research. And then that research is published in this literature database. So I want you to take a minute and think about your research topic and a couple keywords that you might use to describe it. And if you want, feel free to pop some of those searches into the chat, just so the other attendees can see what you're interested in, maybe. when you're done thinking about your topic, you're going to go ahead and you're going to pop it into the Scopus search. So the search, if everyone can see my screen, the search that I have is shape, memory, polymers, and tissue. I think Melissa mentioned Mary Beth Monroe earlier, who's in the bioengineering, and she does research on shape, memory, polymers, and is someone that I've worked closely with in the past. It's a really cool topic. So anyway, you'll notice Brenna mentioned using quotes before. So if you put quotes around the phrase, that keeps that phrase together. So shape, memory, polymers, and tissue. So I'm going to hit search. And again, you can do this with your own topic. So once you get into Scopus, there are a couple different ways that you can access, once you get into the search results, after doing your search for your research topic, there are a couple ways you can access the grant details. I'm going to scroll down here. So we've got 206 results. I'm going to scroll down and look in that left column. And I'm going to look for funding sponsor. Okay. Click on funding sponsor, and it pulls up some of the most, some of the frequent sponsors or funders for research on shape memory polymers. If you go to view more, and then view all, it's going to give you a comprehensive list of those funders, which is huge. So again, this is where I was talking about where if you know the common ones, you know NIH and you know NSF and things like that, but this gives you a much more expansive list that you know might be appealing. You might find some other ones that you didn't think of before. The other thing you can do is you can also do things like you can narrow your search here. So if you wanted to just search for grants that were NSF of Shanghai, then you could click on that and then you could limit to. So I'm going to do that quickly. Well, I think it worked. Yeah, it's just being slow. And then one of the things that I want to show you is that you can actually create an account in Scopus. So this has nothing to do with your SU account. This is a separate account that you're creating in Scopus. So if I go to sign in, because I already have a Scopus account. So I'm signing in. Now what I'm going to do is hit, can everyone see my screen? Okay. Sometimes I'm on a lag with my internet, so I have to like give it a minute. But if I do set alert, this will allow me to set up an email alert. So anything that is now funded by NSF Shanghai on the topic of shape memory polymers in tissue, it will send me an email alert saying, oh, there was a new article published that was funded by this organization. So that's pretty specific. You could also do an alert that was just for shape memory polymers and tissue. And anytime a new article comes up on your topic, then you could go in and see who funded it. But you can also limit to specific funders as well. I'm going to go back a couple screens to my search results, maybe. Okay. So the other thing I want to show you is Scopus has this neat tool called Analyze Search Results. So I'm going to click on this Analyze Search Results button. And it's, again, slow to load, but you can see things like, oh, the research on shape memory polymers really took off in just the last couple of years. So it's showing you the number of documents that are published out of that set of 206 that are on your topic. But what I really want to show you is if we scroll down, there's documents by funding sponsor. So again, this is just another list of all the different funding organizations. And this is, you know, the top, it says the top 15, but It's just a nice visual of the funders. I'm going to go back to the results one more time and show you an actual document. So if we go into, let's just try this one, the iScience open access one, the first result. So if we scroll down to the bottom, can everyone see this, the funding details portion? It says National Cancer Institute, National Institutes of Health, New Jersey Health Foundation, and Rutgers Cancer Institute of New Jersey. And then they have the funding numbers there for most of them. So again, you can grab that information. And so these are things that were already funded, but it doesn't mean that you can't think about that as an organization of, you know, possibility in the future. Before that's actually all I have. You can also go into Web of Science and do a very similar search. And I recommend, because they're both very large literature databases, but their indexes cover slightly different things. So Scopus indexes a certain subset of journals and conference proceedings, book chapters, and Web of Science does the same as well. So depending on what your research topic is, one database might be better than the other. But I always recommend, if you're trying to do a comprehensive search or really dig in and find those funding agencies, then you may want to check out both databases. Does anyone have any questions before I move on? Or before we move on? Oh, I see there are some questions in the, oh, thank you for submitting a couple topic ideas. Synaptic plasticity, neat. Okay, and I think I did address the differences in content. And honestly, I can't tell you specifically what journals each covers. They're massive, massive lists, but they each cover their own subset of stuff. So, and if you really want to know and to dig into the coverage, that's something that Brenna or I could dig into a little bit more and give you more specific details on. Thanks, everybody.
So we're going to have a 10 minutes break, and we're going to come back around 2:45. Okay, welcome back. So just a heads up. So in the first half of this session, Melissa from the Center for Fellowship and Scholarship Advising, and also Brenna and Emily from the Office of Research and the Librarian has shared a lot of great resources with us. So during the next session, I think Christina and the rest of the team is going to share some tools that we can use to search for the grant, like what type of grants that we can apply. And Christina, can you take over?
Yep, and I think I'm sharing my screen, correct? Yep, okay. So big blue slide to go with a big blue wall. All right, that's me. All right, so hello everyone. My name is Christina Ledak-Tour. I'm the director of the Office of Proposal Support Services, which is basically a subunit of the Office of Research. But I like to tell people that I basically just do whatever the Vice President for Research tells me to do, which is basically a whole lot of stuff in the world of research development. And so I'll take us maybe here to our next slide. So this is the Office of Proposal Support Services. So we actually have a staff of 3.5, and that is because one of our folks, Sarah Workman, who some of you might come in contact with, anybody who has to do with the humanities, she is the Assistant Director of Proposal Development, who works half in the Office of Research and half in the College of Arts and Sciences, but she services humanities efforts across the institution. Chetna Chianesi is my Associate Director. She was supposed to join us for this, but she actually has a large proposal meeting going on right now, so proposals are important, so we let her go. But you may see her in the next session. I don't believe I'm going to be able to attend the next session, but I'm going to be providing a lot of materials for that. And then we also work with Jeff Falchi, who is in the Office of Sponsored Programs. He reports to me, but he works with all the units of the Office of Research, and he manages a lot of our information systems, our application systems, and just makes sure we all run. Thank goodness. So I've put our contact information there for the entire office and the link to our website, but I'll just tell you a little bit more about what we do. We're actually on the periphery of graduate services. The Office of Research actually focuses specifically on faculty research and development efforts. However, as part of that, we do have a lot of resources that can be utilized by undergraduates, graduates, postdocs, recent graduates, etc. Many of these resources just depend on it if you have an syr.edu email, because many of them are subscription based. So one of the focuses of my portion of this presentation is going to show you how to fish. So where to find resources, whether those are subscription based or not. So a little bit more about the Office of Research. We actually have 5 subunits in the Office of Research, and we're trying to do a lot better job of communicating exactly what the Office of Research does and who does what within this. And so you'll see at the bottom of the image here, the Office of Research is made up of the Office of Sponsored Programs, the Office of Research Integrity and Protections, the Office of Technology Transfer, us, of course, and actually the source, which is the Undergraduate Research and Creative Engagement Office. So I won't go into too much of the different things we do, other than to say we do manage institution-wide internal grants programs, such as the CUSE grants. Those aren't open to students directly. However, any of you can actually work with a faculty member to get written into a CUSE grant. That's our large $1 million internal grant funding program. That has been put on pause for this fiscal year. So the next competition for the CUSE grant is going to be in the 21-22 year. We also run limited submissions and awards nomination management. So Melissa had talked about how the Center for Fellowship and Scholarship Advising helps students with applications that the university is limited in submitting the number of applicants to a particular competition. We do the same for faculty-based research proposals. So this is one thing that is good to know, because if any of the resources, and I might forget to say this later on, any of the resources we look at, if you see the term limited submission, that means that the submitting unit, so in this case it would be the institution, is only allowed to submit one. So one or more, a certain limited amount. Generally that doesn't come into play for a lot of the funding opportunities that I demonstrate, but it's good to know that term and what it means. It is used as a search delimiter in a lot of the resources, but it isn't something you should have to search based on right now. We also circulate, Office of Proposal Support Services, we try to circulate a lot of funding opportunities out to the campus, and we do obviously grant development for especially large and multidisciplinary proposals across campus. One of the things I do want to point out, because it's good to know, especially for those who aren't quite familiar with how your school or college operates, is that the folks that I showed to you on the first page are actually part of an informal organization that we call the SURD team, and that stands for Syracuse University Research Development. And that group right now is comprised of 13 folks across the campus, a few from the Office of Research, and then some from 6 schools and colleges actually have people that work out of the dean's office that do research development. Those schools and colleges are the Maxwell School, Falk College, the College of Law, visual performing arts, but although Sarah serves part of that. The College of Arts and Sciences has two. They have Melissa Whips, who works in the sciences, and then Sarah Workman, who works in the humanities, but she works across the campus. And the School of Information Studies, I think I'm covering everybody, but we also have a representation from the libraries by way of the lovely Ms. Emily Hart, who was speaking to you earlier. And we also have 3 folks that come from our Corporate and Foundation Relations Office. All those people are on campus working from different units to support research development on campus. And although I don't think any of those folks specifically serve graduate needs or undergraduate needs, the majority of the things that we do support in terms of grants usually have the ability to engage graduate students, undergraduate students, postdocs on them. One thing that I often forget as I do this for many years to put in my presentations is that we could show you all the resources in the world, but your number one resource is your own voice, whether that be written or in person or over the phone or through Zoom or what have you. And that's engaging with faculty, because faculty will always have the ability to pursue a grant that you may not be eligible for depending on the stage of your career, but you can always be a significant contributor to a research grant as a student or as a postdoc. And that is experience that you can then take on into other funding opportunities. You can use it on your CV. You can use it in actual applications to say the kind of research experience you've already had. So despite everything we show you today, just don't forget to talk to the people in your department, talk to faculty that you meet through conferences, other people, because you can always be looking and talk about being willing to be on a research endeavor that could actually open doors for you for your own individual grants. And I will try to, just so you know, I'll try to watch the chat, but I'm not glib like everybody else. I bet, believe it or not, despite having 3 teenagers, I don't multitask well. So. One of the first specific areas that we wanted to focus on are travel grant opportunities. And this came about because we were speaking in our planning session, and Juan noted that, everybody is interested in travel opportunities. And my general response is, especially when I'm demonstrating a lot of the database resources, that they're few and far between. However, there are caveats to that, in that if you look at the sources where you might want to travel to or with, then you can find opportunities. So Juan, I don't know if you wanted to perhaps work through the slides that you provided, or if you'd like me to present them. We didn't discuss that.
Oh, sorry. Maybe you can present it.
Sure, absolutely.
Thank you.
I will show you, for example, in the primary database that I'm going to demonstrate, how to filter for, to look for travel opportunities. But probably the number one way to look at it is to identify the sources, the places you want to go to. So if there's a conference you want to go to, a large number of them have their own travel support, and they are generally to bring people who have not attended the conference before, who have not participated before. So if you are encouraged to attend something by one of your faculty members, if you are, if you hear of another conference that somebody, a peer has gone to, go ahead, look it up. Look through the website, see if they have an awards or a grants or travel support section. Always, and this is going to be the theme through everything I say today, check the eligibility criteria first, because if you're not eligible, there's no point in reading any further. I'll repeat that 3 times probably, okay? If you identify a particular support for a conference you want to go to, just turn in that application. Those applications are generally, compared to, say, a standard grant application, a lower threshold in terms of how difficult they are or how detailed they are. And then enjoy the conference. So here's an example of a conference that has travel support. So AGU has, if you don't see it right when you go to the website, but if you look above under register, attend, present. If you start scrolling through the top menus there, you might see something. So right here, it's very easily identified travel grant. In this case, they made the note to say that, remember that even if you get some type of certificate, it will look good on your bio sketch. But attendance for these, especially if you're award winner, even if you're getting a few $100s of travel support, so it's not like a grant scholarship, anything to say you got a travel grant, you don't have to stipulate the amount, to something as prestigious as the AGU meeting, is phenomenal for your CV going forward. It's phenomenal if you're undergrad, for a graduate application, for a postdoc appointment, anything. So sometimes starting off with the smaller items like this is the best way to build your own portfolio of grantsmanship. So like the more disciplinary based organizations, some awards are offered by companies. So the example here is the American Society for Neurochemistry, and they have a $1,200 travel award. So like I said before, you might get a partial award. You might be able to afford an entire conference, but no matter what, even applying adds some things to your profile. In this one, for this particular example, you have to look at all of the elements that are required. And this is a grantsmanship tip. So this actually belongs in the next session, but we'll just say for this particular award, it says include a high quality image or figure along with a brief paragraph, okay? The next tip is travel awards from scientific societies and society chapters. So this is a tip that I'll make a little later in the presentation too, is that even if it's not an organization that you are aware of, the more you know about the faculty that are in your department, that are on your committee, people that you are citing, that you're looking up literature for them, take a look at their bios, take a look at their CVs. Almost all of them have their CVs posted. So this falls under the free resources I promised that I would talk about in this presentation. Start looking at CVs of people you would either like to emulate or have something to do with your work, because if they're noting they're part of a particular society or a disciplinary based organization, you can do two things. You can see if perhaps they have awards. Usually they require a membership in order to apply, whether if it's a disciplinary based organization or society. If you know somebody, if you know a faculty member that could serve as a reference, that'd be fantastic. Often they have, if you aren't a part of these already, often they have reduced membership rates for students. So take a look at that. But these types of societies and chapters often have travel awards. Oops, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to move up so quick. So in this case, it's a $500 travel award for this particular society, but $500, especially say if you're staying local, not everybody's traveling right now, but this is in anticipation of the fact there will be travel. There will be, and it wouldn't surprise me. I know myself that our group, our SURD team, we're supposed to travel to Austin, Texas, and present about our team. And instead, our entire conference was virtual. And so we just presented. Emily was there with me, and we just presented to a national group virtually. But there was a cost for that conference. So it wouldn't surprise me, and I can't give you specifics right now, if a lot of these travel awards will be ported to offset the cost of online conferences. So this is still, I believe, a relevant topic. Okay. Last but not least, for those conferences, we were saying look for travel awards, but if you're interested in attending a conference, look at the application information, look at the costs, because for some conferences, if you actually volunteer, you can have the costs offset. So they might provide a free, or more often than not, a reduced registration. So you absolutely want to take a look at that, because not only think of it, you're hitting all the bells at once now. You're getting to participate in the conference, you're getting an award. You can note that type of award perhaps on your CV, but you're getting service in, you're getting additional face time with more members of the conference by providing service, and you get to go for a reduced cost. So those are the win-win-win situations that you need to do a little digging. Nobody's just going to hand you that opportunity. Well, if they do, fantastic, take it, but generally nobody will just hand you that opportunity. So, and the last but probably the most common support for travel that I know of is your own department or college may have travel support that you can use both as a student or perhaps as a postdoc, and definitely the faculty do have funds available for travel. So taking a look, see if there's any questions. You know, graduates, GSO, yes, offers travel grants for SU students. So thank you for calling that out, Melissa. All right, so now we'll move on to, and this is sort of just talking about the general buckets of opportunities, because I know we have a diverse audience, but again, the focus of what I'm going to do will be on the tools, but I just want to skim over a few more general points. Okay, so for postdoctoral opportunities, basically the same kind of recommendations. Look at the faculty on your campus. If you are interested in staying at Syracuse University and you are a graduate student, then just start networking and start looking at different departments, especially if the nature of your work is interdisciplinary. Look to see where there may be already existing opportunity, but those are going to be few and far between at the moment, based on budgetary limitations across the entire institution, let alone across the entire world and the nation. However, if you have a relationship and make a relationship with a faculty member that you share research interests, they might very well be willing to write a large research grant and write in a space for a postdoc. You could be a named postdoc on a research grant. So it doesn't always have to be something that's posted, whether it's in a funding opportunities database, you know, in a job ops board. You can make opportunities by nature of your networking and being really out there about what your research interests are. Okay. Look at faculty or collaborators, other graduate students at peer institutions. And this can come from networking that you've done with professional organizations at conferences, etc. You might be able to develop or identify a postdoctoral opportunity through that type of networking. This is something I do for funding opportunities in particular. So I never want to recreate the wheel if somebody else has already done either some gathering or advertising. We have centers and institutes at Syracuse University that offer funding. The Moynihan Institute in the Maxwell School is an example of one large institute that has its own seed funding, and they offer it, I believe they offer them to graduate students too, but it's for faculty all across campus that have interests in the international areas that they look at. But just like the Moynihan Institute and other institutes here, many other large research institutions and even some smaller ones, the centers and institutes at those schools and colleges have their own funding, and they're not limited to the faculty of that center or institute, or often not to the faculty or students of that institution. They try to bring people in. So take a look at if there's a center or institute that you've read about, that you're reading literature from, that you are attending online events about, look to see if they offer any funding opportunities on their websites. Okay. Rolling next into more websites, because that's how we do things now completely, is look at the websites of major funding agencies. So Melissa put a great list of funding opportunities up, and many of them, or some of them, were at least from funding agencies. So one of the ones I've worked with the longest is the National Science Foundation, and they have research experience for undergraduates. They have graduate research fellowship opportunities. They have doctoral dissertation research improvement grants. They have postdoctoral opportunities. So if you take a look at major funders like that, National Science Foundation, National Institute of Health, Department of Energy, if you start learning to just surf around on their sites and to look for, using the search buttons like grants or dissertation or postdoctoral, that you might be able to identify programs that you actually have not heard about yet. And then finally, for postdoc opportunities, as with everything else, you can use a dedicated search on a funding opportunity database. So I'll demonstrate that in a bit. Okay. So here's an example of a large federal funder and where to find postdoctoral opportunities. So if you just go to the National Science Foundation, nsf.gov, and if you typed in postdoctoral, this would be the first page that pops up. Okay, this is a list of their special programs for postdoctoral fellows. And when you click on, I chose example, the SBE, Postdoctoral Research Fellows. It takes you to the page about their programs, and from there you link to a solicitation. Now I'm going to try, it's not my nature, but I'm going to try not to talk about the art of grant writing and all the terminology and all the pieces and parts, because that's supposed to be the next session, right? But one of the major parts, and if you don't know this already, I'm going to socialize you to the term solicitation. Solicitation is just one of many terms that refer to some notice of a funding opportunity. National Science Foundation uses these solicitations, many pages of detail, but they are specific information and instructions on how to apply for a particular funding opportunity. So when you look up this information on postdoctoral fellowship opportunities at NSF, these individual pages will take you to specific program pages that has a little bit of detail, but then you must click on the link for the solicitation, and that is where the devilish details are. You must take a look, and here's the second time I'm saying it, you must take a look first before anything else at the eligibility information, because if you're not eligible, there's no point in taking more time and looking at that particular opportunity. So in this case, for the SBE, which is the Social, Behavioral, and Economic Postdoctoral Research Fellowships, it says that you have to be an individual and you may hold the fellowship at an institution of higher education or a nonprofit, but who may serve as PIs? This is one of the number one questions, and we've already seen it a few times today. Fellowship candidates must meet all the eligibility requirements. Be a U.S. citizen, national, or legally admitted permanent residents. So this is a domestic opportunity. A lot of the federal programs, as Melissa talked about before, a lot of the federal programs are limited to domestic support. However, not always, and not all opportunities within one federal entity. So I can tell you right now, for the National Science Foundation, if you apply for a graduate research fellowship program, you have to be a citizen or a resident. If you apply for a postdoctoral opportunity, you also do. But the doctoral dissertation research improvement grants do not have a citizenship requirement. You must be an admitted student to a recognized institution of higher education in the United States. Okay, so that's one of the things that myself, other people at the Office of Research, people in sponsored programs can help you identify. If you're not sure about the eligibility requirements for about a certain grant, shoot me an email. My email's on here a few times, and say, hey, I'm looking at this grant. I'm so-and-so. Am I eligible? I'll show you where to find the information on eligibility if it's not blatantly stated. But a good way to do it is on a web page or in a solicitation. Just look for the term eligibility. Okay, I got to stop. I'm going to get too much into that. Just, yeah, shoot me a text if you want to stop me if I get rambling on too long. Okay, so graduate opportunities. Basically, this is the same thing. I just tried to put it in different words, same bullets. So look at your own department. Look to see what awards your peers have gotten and what awards your faculty in your department have gotten. And even though you say, well, I won't be eligible for any of the awards that faculty have applied for, that's not necessarily the case, because for one thing, most of the faculty on their CVs will identify awards they got as graduate students. So there's a source of potential support for you there. Your peers in your own departments. Many of the departments I know have very significant newsletters, and one of the main portions of those newsletters is talking about who got what grant for what, right? Start paying attention to those. Start making a list. At the very end of this presentation, and we probably won't get to it, I have, and you will get the slides. We just need to make them accessible first, and then we will send them to distribute. But at the very end of the slide, I have an example table. One of the things that I have in the past couple of years especially tried to integrate into presentations like this is make sure that you are researching, keeping track of your own work when it comes to identifying funding opportunities. Don't recreate the wheel each time. Make sure that you, in some shape, way, or form, are keeping lists of all the opportunities that you identify and making some notes of those and making them accessible to get back. So I'll try to show that table at the end, but just keep that in mind here. So when I say what awards have your peers gotten, if you're taking a look at your departmental newsletter, start having somewhere that you can say, you know, such and such foundation, they had a dissertation award. Okay, that's on my list. It doesn't mean you have to go to it right then and there. Just have a running list, almost like a shopping list. I keep a shopping list in my phone. Every single day I add something to it. Start doing that with potential funding opportunities, whether it's something you're eligible for or not. I mistakenly said when you look at eligibility, if you're not eligible, if it has to do with the time in your program or your status as a researcher and you're not eligible yet, then you can keep looking and see if it's something that might be interesting for you and just put it on that ongoing list of things for the future. And start keeping your own track record so that I'm horrible at this, that I will thoroughly research something 1 year. I've been at Syracuse for 21 years. I will thoroughly research something like 10 years ago. I remembered I looked at it, but I can't remember what I discovered or what I found out. And then I have to go back and do it again. But if I keep a very significant list of what I've already determined and what I've already looked at, then I'll know I already figured out that doesn't fit for us because we're not eligible because XYZ. Or I did look at that and I thought, well, maybe a couple of years down the road. So treat yourself well and keep track of the work that you are doing. Okay, I'm back to graduate opportunities. Make sure you're looking at peers at other institutions to see what they're getting. Make sure you're looking at professional organizations, such as for the travel grants that we were talking about above. Look at those websites for major funding agencies and do a dedicated search. So it's a similar mantra for no matter what stage of your program that you're in. I'm now going to switch into the resources. This particular resource, I can't actually click in to show you right now. I will say if any of you are on campus, you could use these links to access it. If any of you are actually remoting into your, remoting into your desktop, your SU server, you can do it. Right now, I'm having connection issues, so I couldn't do this. I couldn't remote in, so I won't be able to show you the inner page. So I took an old picture here. Yes, it says April 2019. We still have access to this resource. This is a subscription-based resource that you can link to if you're on campus by using this link right here. If you're, or you can use right now this link, which is going away, maybe even as soon as this afternoon. It's not completely going away, but there's a page on the sponsored programs website that has funding opportunity resources. We are literally in the process of porting that over to the proposal support services part of the website. So if you click on this and it doesn't work, it worked an hour ago, but I know they're actually working on it, so it might not. But regardless, the resource is the Grant Advisor Plus, and you can always shoot me an email and I can give you further directions. This is an old school resource, but I love it, I have to tell you. And I think it is helpful for graduate students. I think it is helpful for postdoctoral fellows because it contains a lot of information on fellowships, and it is specific to academic research and academic opportunities, whereas some of the resources I'm going to talk about don't focus exclusively on academic opportunities and support. So if you go into the Grant Advisor Plus, you'll see these red terms. These are basically just very broad buckets that they put these funding opportunities in, and there is some overlap between them. But if you're basically in the social sciences, click on the social sciences. If you are a woman or a minority, click on the woman or minority list, etc. And it's a very, very basic filter. What this provides are lists, like essentially spreadsheets, a little bit fancier than that, of the funding opportunity. It gives the acronym for the sponsoring agency or foundation or organization. It gives the title of the opportunity. If you're lucky, it will give you a link to a one paragraph abstract that gives you the basics, and it gives you that gives you the actual link to the funder and hopefully the program page. What's nice about this is it's updated once a month. It's either the first Tuesday or Monday of each month. So I have traditionally bookmarked this so that I check it the second week of the month, every month, because once you look at these lists, and these lists are only maybe 3 pages long, usually like 2 to 3 pages long. Once you look at the opportunities there, when you go back to the list, if you look at it once a month, anything that's new just has a little red plus sign next to it. Anything that has already been on the list doesn't have that plus sign. So they're quick to go through. Over the years, I've pulled a lot of opportunities from this. One of the benefits of this list is that unlike the larger funding opportunities databases that can be very difficult to skim through, these will have more discrete fellowship opportunities that might be offered from a center or institute at a different higher educational institution, or perhaps a small boutique foundation. So they'll have some of those smaller opportunities that might not naturally come up in a large funding database search. So I'm going to move on. I'm sorry, I can't display this one at the moment. Okay. The next subscription database that I'm going to talk about that I use significantly, but I'm not going to spend a lot of time on, is the Foundation Directory Online. So the FDO is a subscription database. The subscription in this case is held through the libraries. And so there is one institutional subscription. So in order to access it, you actually go through, much like was it Brenna or Emily? Emily showed us the going through the library website to access Scopus. And this is the same. So to access the Foundation Directory Online, the FDO, you go through the libraries. And so you could do this from anywhere. You're just going to have to, at some point, put in your easy proxy if you're offline. We'll take a look at that. I'll take a quick peek. What are we doing on time? No, I'm not going to take a quick peek at all. We're almost out of time. So I'll show you just these are new screen captures. The FDO is the single largest source of information on foundations and corporate giving programs and corporate foundations in the nation and increasingly in the world. So it has a simplistic search function. I always recommend using the advanced search. If you log into it the way that's described in here, you would go to this, you'll get to this main interface here. Before you search, because we don't have time to do it now, take a look. They have videos in there. If you scroll on that first page, they're very simple videos that show you how to navigate the search features and what your results will come up with. You can get information on foundations, what their programs are, where they have given, how much they have given. They will show you grants. They will show you maps of grants that you can drill down to a county level to see the grants and to see. So I love to always see with any funder I'm looking at if they've ever given to Syracuse University or if they've ever given to any educational institution in the US. The biggest caveat about the FDO is that it does not focus only on academic research. So that's one thing you want to learn how to use both the subject areas and the transaction types and the support strategies, and they have information in their help screens and videos to see how to narrow down to more successfully identify academic opportunities, because the majority of them focus on operating support for small entities. But it can be a great resource, especially if you have something very specific, something community focused in terms of identifying funding opportunities and learning about foundations. The big resource, and we don't have a lot of time left, so I want to go right into this. If this doesn't work, I have screen captures. Pivot is the #1 funding opportunity database that I have used here for the last, I don't know, 12 some odd years, something like that. It is a subscription-based resource. We will, as long as I'm living, we will have this subscription. I will just tell you. And it is something that you can access from anywhere as long as you sign up. This is the picture right now. but there is a new user interface that's coming on September 9th. We are literally in the process of customizing it to look more orange, essentially. But there'll be newer features and newer interactive materials on it. So it's not going to look quite like this. So what I show you today is going to change. We will retain this, and this is open to anybody with an syr.edu account. So you can be an undergrad, you could be a staff member, you can be a graduate, you can be a postdoc or a faculty member. Everybody can sign on, and the beauty of Pivot is once you sign on and you start doing searches and saving things, everything is in the cloud. You don't have to have separate files. It'll retain the searches that you've done if you wish. It'll retain any funding opportunity that you click on to track. It'll retain it, and you'll have that information there. It will retain record of anything you email to anybody. If you email a funding opportunity, or if someone emails one to you, it's a fantastic wealth of information, and it also will help you link to other people on campus who might be either interested in a funding opportunity or could be seen as an expert in a particular area. I'm going to just show you, give you a preview. The slides that you'll get will show you the different operations of signing in. If you have an existing account, if anyone on here does, you'll have to match your account to the new information, because just in the last few days, we enabled you to sign on with your SU ID information. It used to be you had to create a brand new account. Now you just sign on with your SU account. Yay! Everybody that works with me knows this has been a long time coming, so yay! But if you have an existing account, you can still use it to sign in. So I have the directions for both if you're signing in for the first time, or if you have an existing account. I have the screen captures of exactly what you'll see when you sign in, okay? This is just to show you what the new user interface is gonna look like. A little bit more SU'd out. This is the table I was talking to you about. You all get copies of these slides so you can take a look, but these are the kind of things I say that you wanna keep a record of. The funder, a link to the website, the program. I'm pointing and you can't see where I'm pointing, but I'll use my mouse, I'm sorry. Eligibility information, amount of a grant, progress, your own personal notes of what you're doing, a deadline, if you submitted or not, etc. So now I'm going to go back up, and with our remaining few minutes here, I'm going to go into ProQuest. ProQuest is the parent organization of Pivot. So as you'll see, due to the scheduled data center maintenance window, they're working through the updates here. So if you take that link, you should get it. It should brand this as SU. If you should happen to click on it and you get the main, like the corporate site, it's okay. You're going to always want to look in the upper right hand corner at the login or sign up. Now what I'm going to do, because I'm imagining the most of the people here do not have accounts, I'm clicking on sign up, and you have the choice to use your institutional login credentials. Yes.
Sorry, we cannot see your screen. Yeah, we are on your presentation.
Oh, I'm sorry. Thank you for speaking up. Hold on. Thank you for speaking up. I know where you are. We're running out of time here. Okay, let's try this. How's that? Yay! Okay, I'm gonna go back just for a second. So when I first clicked, this is the page and the same image I have, and this is the page that is going to change and how pretty it looks. It'll be prettier. So I clicked on sign up. Once you sign up, then you'll just click on login. We now have a choice between using your email address and creating password, which is what we've done for years, or institutional login. Please, if you have not created an account already, click institutional login. If it gives you a drop down, you'll have to select Syracuse University, and then you'll click create my account. Okay. I have an incoming freshman, so he is getting an account live right now for the first time. And he has consented to this, I will let you know. Okay, so now when you get to that login screen, you are going to enter your information. So it's just your name and an email. And you have to consent to the privacy policies, and then you get started. Okay. And we didn't find a profile, match your name, skip and claim later. He does not have a profile because he's an incoming undergraduate student. Some of you might, if you're senior graduate students, if you're postdocs and you have published or taught in the department, you might actually have profiles in there. And what you would do is claim your profile. So you're merging your searching account and your actually academic profile. Okay, so what you are actually, what's happened before when you didn't do the single sign-on, the shibboleth, would be you'd have to respond to an email that you got and say, yes, it's you, and go on. But if you do the single sign-on, luckily we don't have to do that step right now because I can't access his email right now. So, but here you see right here, it says Aiden Dietz. So this is a brand new account. Boom, it was literally that easy. Okay, if anybody has any problems, I am the institutional representative for Pivot, and I would be happy to make sure that you get logged in. So we have 2 minutes left. The two most important things you want to take a look through is, one, help. You can find information on how to navigate any single operation within Pivot by using their help information. We have resources that walk you through the sign up and the initial search process. Because of the user interface update, we are going to be updating those documents. The user interface will be updated as of September 9th. So I anticipate the second week in September, we will have all that help information updated. I will send those to Juan to circulate afterwards, but they'll also be put on the Proposal Support Services website. And I'm thinking maybe we can have them linked on the library website too, maybe. But you want to look at two things. Look through the profiles, type in names of faculty at Syracuse University that you work with them, you want to follow their work, you cite them, they have work similar to yours. These profiles are generally not managed, but when you click on a profile, it will show you a list. It will show you a link to funding opportunities that match that profile. You have done a search without entering a single search term. When you are on that list, when you're on that search, you will be able to filter by such things as type of applicant, graduate student, individual graduate student, or early career for those postdoc people. When you click on the funding search, and again, realize that how this looks is going to be quite a bit different in a couple weeks, but the operations are going to be the same. You can use this wheel here to look for funding opportunities in any of these buckets without entering a single search term again. So if I start in the natural and physical sciences, I go to technology, drills down to aerospace technology, it drills down to propulsion, aeronautics, airframe design. When you click on these, it does a search for you and gives you the funding opportunities right there without clicking on any search terms, okay? So if we just clicked one, I just want to show you the results. This is a fairly small search, and you'll see your search string is at the top, aerospace, electronics. Once you're in a search, however, you can navigate within that search by clicking on any of these items to the left. Applicant type. This is one of the easiest way if you're doing a broad search, either by topic or looking at somebody's profile results. Click into that, and this is a very small search. It will filter for your eligibility, okay? This is where you can also, it's not gonna show up, well, it is showing up right here. You can see that citizenship and residency has been limited to the US or unrestricted. That is a natural setting for if you're doing a search within Syracuse University, but you can uncheck that. And it didn't make a difference in this particular search. But if that's applied, if you uncheck it, it'll give you opportunities that aren't limited to citizenship. And so you see here's one right now from the UK government, okay? You can stop me or I can keep going, whatever you want to do. People can drop off, I won't be offended. I'll just do one search and then I'll end. Okay. Always do an advanced search. If you're not using one of these just quick and down dirty tools, do an advanced search. Save yourself some time. Do the filters that apply to you as an individual, and then your results will be more fine-tuned. It's just like doing a you know, a well-tuned Boolean search. So you'll see that there's filters that have already been set for activity, location, and citizenship and residency. So we're going to uncheck the citizenship. I'm going to keep the activity location checked for now. Because you are at a U.S. Institution right now by nature either of your education or your employment, you want to at least always have the U.S. or unrestricted as an option for activity location, because even if you're looking for funds for doing field research in a different country, you're still doing some work here as a student or a researcher or as a staff member. So always make sure you have at least the U.S., but you can add other countries. If you are a citizen of another country, if you have dual citizenship, you can enter multiple citizenships and look for funding opportunities that fit both of those. Same thing, you can look for funding opportunities that fit one or more countries, major geographical areas, or that are unrestricted. These are the keyword boxes. I never use those. I go to the keyword, which gives us to the large taxonomy supplied by Pivot. I'm going to put in right now, I think we had a lot of psychology folks, right? So I'm going to just start typing. When you start typing, it shows you every place within the taxonomy where psychology applies, or where it appears. So you can start seeing how a particular topic, you can drill down to a more discrete topic, or you can start seeing where it is organized. This isn't as vibrant of a search for me, but I just want to show you that you might automatically think, okay, social sciences, but there is, you know, psychology under education. You can type in here, select any of these. When you select it, it adds to your search, okay? But I would recommend for your first search, or anytime you're creating like a new broad search, go into the keyword browser. These are the large buckets, much like we saw on the grant advisor page, where everything's been organized under these, except this is keywords, right? Anytime you see a little caret, it expands. So we know that psychology was under social sciences, so we expand. When you're searching as a graduate student, or even as a postdoc, I would say click on those broad categories and add them to your search. The reason why, especially with fellowships, especially with funding for graduate students, a lot of funders fund very broad categories and multidisciplinary categories. So they want social science students, they want humanities students. They don't give any keywords that would drill down to your particular area of interest. So include those applicable broad disciplinary terms in your search, okay? But we're also going to include, you know, it had okay, so here's the big psychology bucket. We included adolescent psychology. Let's also include applied psychology. So these folders you'll see don't have carets, so they don't drill down anymore. But now we have adolescent, social sciences, psychology, and applied psychology. This little box right here says explode. If you're using one of those broad terms and you don't uncheck it, it will search all 453 terms that are under social sciences. So if you're doing a drilled down search, you want to uncheck that. It would be equivalent to looking in one of those broad areas on the wheel where you clicked in and it'll just give you everything in there, right? So you'll want to do your own keywords. You want to absolutely select applicant type. Here's where you can take out a lot of the noise. So you're going to select, for right now, I'm going to choose a graduate student, okay? So this is supposed to give you results that are all eligible for graduate students to apply. We took the citizenship or residency off, so right now that is just undefined. And the funding type would be, if you're doing a quick search, would be the last thing I would enter, because in this case, as a graduate student, you're going to be looking for dissertation or thesis support. Now, here is where you can look for, we talked about this earlier, travel. As I said, if you can find, if anyone finds a general travel grant that's open to go anywhere you want, let me know. I haven't seen one, but if you find it, let me know, because then my whole, you know, presentation's out the window. But you could always try to look at that based on your keywords to see if you can identify conferences that you didn't know about that might have travel support. You could also select research or training or scholarship or fellowship, but for just right now, I'm going to do dissertation or thesis. And we're gonna do a search because I just wanna show you how to save it, and we'll be good. Okay, so with this search, here's my full search string. We have a few terms in psychology. We have an applicant that's a graduate student. We are looking for dissertation or thesis support, and our activity is going to be in the US or unrestricted. We have 32 results. I love this search. My personal threshold is a 100. If I get way more than that, I start filtering immediately before I look. If I get like 5, I usually expand my search. Okay, so this is perfect for me. As I said, you can look to the left-hand side to search within these. If you wanted some that have an art and humanities tinge, you can click on that, and it's going to filter for art and humanities as keywords. All of these that are shown, 32, are eligible for graduate students, so you don't have to filter in that way. But I want to show you, if there is something that looks really good to you and you want to make sure that you go back to it, you want to save it, you definitely want to apply, we're going to click in it and we're going to take a look at it. Now you notice this one says limited submission. That means that there is only so many that are allowed to be submitted by a particular organization. I'm still gonna save this because actually my son is interested in psychology. So we're gonna save this. So to save it, you click track. That's it. For those that have seen this presentation before and have worked with me for a long time, the set to active is going away. There is only gonna be one like single save, and that's track, okay? So when you track it, when you log in and you're on your home page, it shows right in the front. You don't have to search for it. You don't have to enter a word. When you log in, boom, it's there. So you can use this to track those things that you haven't applied to yet or that you are applying to. Once you track something, you will get an email when it updates. When the deadline changes, when anything about the funding opportunity changes, you will get an email about the funding opportunities you have tracked. Okay, so nice real-time information. I'm just going to go back and save that entire search. And to save the search, all you do is go to the top, click Save Search, and enter a name. And that's it. If you like your search and you've done this for, you like it already, you automatically will receive a weekly email containing new or updated opportunities in that query. I would recommend, until you've done one and you've tweaked it so the results look okay, on track, that you uncheck that. If you like a lot of email, you can check it. Your results will come every week on a Sunday if something new matches your search, from here until eternity, until you don't have an syrr.edu email anymore. I'm going to uncheck that. I'm going to save it. Oh, I got to do as I say, not as I do. We're going to say this. We're going to call this Psych First Search. Okay. We have saved the search. And to access that saved search, just like your tracked opportunities, all you need to do is log in. Your tracked opportunities will be the first thing that shows, but your navigation button on the left, you click on Saved Searches. It says no results for this week because the search wasn't turned on yet, but you'll see here all results is 32, and you click in the search and you're there. Okay, so you could do a quick search. You can do it from your phone. You don't even have to look at your results. You could save it and look at it later. You can share your entire search. You can always edit it. You can click on it and refine it. You can change the search. You can add tags if you wanted. You can set up the email if you didn't have it turned on and you do want to turn it on, or you can delete the search. You can have as many searches as you want. Just make sure you put discrete names to them. And as I said before, if you share anything, if you share a search, an entire search, if you share a funding opportunity, it'll start tracking those. And I'm 12 minutes over, but I'm done.
Thank you, Christina. Thank you. So just a reminder that we will have our next session on the August 26th. And at the same, between the same period of time, 1:30 to 3:30. And we're going to switch gear from the searching tours to the resources, the on-campus resources or online resources to help you prepare the specific materials for application during our next session. And I hope that we have covered or provided a great collection of resource grant funding resources or tools. So, but keep in mind, our treasurer are all those experts, Christina, Melissa, Emily, and Brenna. So they know much more than what they presented today. So, and our mission is that try to connect you with the right person and the right resources. So we will send their contact information with the record later, of course, with their permission. So if you need us to connect you with the right person to serve your success in the future, feel free to contact us. And also another goal I have to remind you is that we want to put together different small writing groups, and then this can help you and keep tracking of the grant application and the preparation as well. So with that, I would like to thank Christina, Emily, Brenna, and Melissa, and of course, Carla and Amanda. So we're going to end our session today. Thank you.